Back in 2016, Dreamworks released Captain Underpants, and then now they finally decided to continue that with the same author and make Dogman. And coming from someone who has read the Dogman books and was a fan of them back in the day, how did this movie stand? Well, let's review it. Now, I am glad to say that if you are a Dogman fan, this movie was able to capture the heart and the look that those movies had. But just what they do with the animation looking almost identical to what the graphic novel looked like, or just the certain camera movements that they do that kind of match the books, and do it in like a comic booky way, like the books would, just makes it feel more like those books. And even when it comes to the theme of the story, it not only feels like a Dreamworks theme that, previous Dreamworks movies been having, like The Wild Robot and Puss in Boots, but it also keeps that theme that the original books have, and continues to move that theme along, and was able to adapt it into the movie, and makes for a great adaptation from book into screen. And Petey still remains as the best character in this franchise. This movie did not dim him down. In fact, all the characters from this movie feel the exact same in the books and the movie. The movie didn't dim any of the characters down, didn't take any of the freedom away from these characters, and they're able to stay the characters that they are in the books. Especially Petey, which he's more of the main character, like he is in the books and the movie. He's more of the main character in this movie, and it continues that too, because it keeps the theme, and it keeps his character arc that he goes through, and continues to stay one of the best characters in this franchise. Now, although this movie doesn't really reach the heights of other Dreamworks movies like The Wild Robot, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, although it's not on any of those levels, just the movie itself is still able to tell a very interesting story with a theme to it. Even though it's nothing groundbreaking, although it's predictable, it's still able to tell a sweet story that any fans of the book will absolutely love. No matter who you are, a fan of the books or not a fan of the books, you're going to walk out of this movie and enjoy your time with it. No matter what, you're going to enjoy this movie for the previous things I have mentioned. But every movie has its problems, so let's talk about it. Now, my main problem with the movie is not that it's predictable, it's that the plot moved way too fast. Now, some of that I liked because the comics or graphic novels really only took 30 minutes to read the entire book, but for the movie, there's just expedition dump after expedition dump. Like, there's this one scene where they have to recap what happened in book 2, but they didn't really want to tell that story in the movie, so what they did is they told the entirety of book 2 in under 10 seconds, and you can tell that's going to be absolutely rushed. And it was absolutely rushed. Especially if you read the books. I was just laughing at how fast they were going through some of these scenes, because the book spent a long time on it and this movie's just skipping through it like it's nothing. I'm curious to see how a general audience member would think of how fast it's going. I'm sure they don't really care as much. But for someone who has read the book and seeing how fast it was going, I was a little confused with how fast in the direction they were deciding to take some of these. Some stuff like that was annoying after a while, but after like the first 20 minutes it got better, but the first 20 minutes of this movie was a little fast. But I feel like all that could be made up for how copy and paste this is from book 3 to screen, because this movie is book 3 of the book series. So I feel like all that rushed plot points at the beginning can be forgiven just for how accurate it is to the book. Dogman is a movie that is a great adaptation from book into screen, and is a movie that could just work as its own, not comparing it to anything that came before it, and still work just fine. The theme of the movie is the absolute standout, not only because it matches what the books did, but it also just tells a very mature theme by still keeping the lightheartedness that the books brought before. Dogman is a great adaptation, and I do think it's worth checking out. Although it's not DreamWorks' best movie, it's also not their worst.
We sew the dog's head onto the man's body.
With that, if you like this video, maybe these ones on the side of this issue too, like, subscribe, and see you guys next time.